Hello, welcome everyone to On Running After One's Hat by G.K. Chesterton. In the last two classes, we have examined the first two paragraphs of the essay On Running After One's Hat. Now we are examining the third paragraph. Let us go through the contents of the earlier paragraphs once again. Chesterton was trying to view the inconveniences of life in a different and novel manner. London in flood is certainly an inconvenience. However, it gives us an opportunity to see the great city immersed in water. His hometown, Battersea, would have looked like Venice during the flood. So this is certainly a very novel way of looking at an inconvenience. Usually we consider flood as a natural calamity, but Chesterton is viewing it in a funny, humorous manner. Thus, that inconvenience is turned into something that is very exciting. Uh, Now, consider, just imagine that you are in a railway station waiting for a train which is late. So you may think that it is an inconvenient situation, that being late in a railway station. However, children may find it interesting. Everything in a railway station are of interest to children. This Chesterton says that you can turn. Chesterton says that you can turn every difficult situation interesting by having a different point of view. So that was the idea that was explained by Chesterton in the first two paragraphs, and let us continue. So we begin with the last sentence that Chesterton says that you can turn every difficult situation interesting by having a different point of view. Coming to third para, the lesson continued. For instance, means for example, there is a current impression that it is unpleasant to have to run after one's hat. So it is generally believed that it is really unpleasant to run after one's hat. Just imagine that you are walking through the street and your hat goes away uh, and you are running after it. It is considered as an unpleasant activity. Why should it be unpleasant to the well-ordered means disciplined, well-ordered and pious mind? Pious means religious. Here it means sincere. Why should running after one's hat should be considered as uh, an unpleasant activity, especially to a disciplined mind, especially to a pious person, a sincere person? Not merely because it is running, not because it is running, and running exhausts one. Exhaust means makes one tired. So that is one thing. The same people run much faster in games and sports. So the same people means the same people who says that running after one's hat is an unpleasant activity. These same people run much faster in games and sports. It is not tiring to them. The same people run more eagerly after an uninteresting little leather ball. See, the same people who says that running after one's hat is an unpleasant activity will run eagerly after an uninteresting little leather ball than they will after a nice silk hat. So these people will consider only running after one's hat as unpleasant activity. They uh, they don't consider running after uh, the leather ball as an unpleasant activity. So it is not tiring for them. There is an idea that it is humiliating, that is insulting, to run after one's hat. So that is the reason. So people seem to think that it is humiliating to or insulting to run after one's hat. And when people say that it is humiliating, they mean that it is comic, means it makes others laugh. So people think that running after one's hat will make others laugh. So the explanation is like this. Here, Chesterton discusses the title of the essay, that is running after one's hat. It is generally considered that running after one's hat is an unpleasant activity. Why it is considered so, especially for a disciplined and sincere person? One reason is that running after one's hat makes one tired. Another reason is that it makes others laugh. Let us continue. Uh, it is certainly comic. Means it is true that running after one's hat is a comic activity. But man is a very comic creature, and most of the things he does are comic. Eating, for instance. So Chesterton admits that uh, it is a comic activity. Man himself is a comic creature, and most of the activities done by man are comic, especially eating, for instance. So Chesterton is of the opinion that eating is a very comic activity done by uh, human being. So it is a very paradoxical statement. Chesterton is a person with a very strange ideas, and he says that eating is a comic activity. We don't know the reason why he says that eating is a comic activity. And see another interesting, strange observation making by Chesterton. And the most comic things of all are exactly the things that are most worth doing. He says that most the comic activities done by man, they are actually worth doing. Worth doing means valuable. Another example is making love, that is sexual activity. See the explanation. Chesterton admits that running after one's hat is a comic activity, but there is no wonder in it because man is a comic creature. Most of his activities are comic. Chesterton says that eating is a comic activity. It's a paradoxical statement. He adds that such comic activities in life are really worth doing, valuable. Another example is sexual activity. It may seem to be a comical activity, but valuable. So, sexual activity is considered as valuable because worth doing because uh, uh, it is the sexual activity which leads to reproduction and which sustains life on earth. And that paragraph is concluded like this: a man running after a hat is not half so ridiculous. Ridiculous means any activity which deserves mocking. Parihasyamaya. Uh, so a man running after a hat is not a half as so ridiculous as a man running after a wife. A man running after his hat, his hat is not as ridiculous as a man running after his wife. So, according to G.K. Chesterton, running after one's wife is a ridiculous activity. Running after one's hat is not as ridiculous as running after one's wife. So, when you read this essay, you may feel that Chesterton is a person with very strange ideas, a very strange way of expressing it. So, let us stop today's class here, and we will continue later. Thank you.